Hello and welcome back to Albion Online. Today we're talking about the middle way and the power of moderation. And it's extremely difficult to practice moderation in life, I've found. It's even harder to have balance than it is to switch from one extreme to another. You could be all the way to the right and you could switch and go all the way to the left. You can go ditch to ditch. That's pretty easy. It really is. It's kind of like a ball bouncing back and forth in a pool table. It's not that hard to get the ball to go from one side and bounce off the other side and then go back to the other side and so forth and so on. It's not hard to do that. What's hard is to get that ball to go into that hole, which is somewhere in between. We always look for solutions to our problems, which are extreme and binary and well defined. You say, okay, I spend too much time on my cell phone, so what am I going to do? I'm going to give up the cell phone. I'm going to replace it with an analog phone that's wired to the wall, and I'm just never going to use my smartphone again. All right, well, you could do that. You really could. But you could also experiment with moderation. You could practice using the device only mindfully for things you choose to do. So, can you have something and use it in moderation, or are you so powerless that the only way for you to exercise any kind of reasonable control over your life is to completely eliminate things? It's not about giving things up. It's not about saying, I was wrong about this, I'm going to switch sides. It's more nuanced than that. Maturity is about understanding that there's a time and a place for everything. And you stop doing certain things at certain times and you make a point to choose the life that you live. That's all it all boils down to. Can you do that? Can any of us just live our lives on a basis of free will? Or is that asking too much? In my life, I've always looked for solutions to problems in extremes, to go from one thing to another thing and seek clarity by completely eliminating the things that don't belong. And that's never helped me, really. What has helped me is learning to have constraint without completely pushing anything out of the way entirely. You can love people, but not put them in a position where they're able to do you harm. You can see good in other people's points of view without necessarily embracing those points of view entirely. You can structure your time in a way that's more productive without going ditch to ditch and trying to replace your consumer lifestyle with becoming a Buddhist monk in Tibet or something. I remember a time when I was a young adult, 18 or 19 or 20, I don't know, somewhere around there. And I went through this phase where I started thinking about how I would like to be a vegan. I thought it'd be nice, it'd be cool to not use any animal products whatsoever because killing animals seemed cruel, and I was into the sustainability mantra, and I thought, you know, what I need to do is somehow I need to totally eliminate all animal products out of my life so that I'm more sustainable. And that led to a series of problems because first, I gave up things like meat. Like that's pretty easy. I mean, you just don't buy meat at the store. But then I started thinking about how the seats in my truck were made out of leather. And my shoes and my belt were made out of leather. And there's so many other things in life that are some kind of animal product derivative. And it's true, there's a lot of people that do go to that extreme and they try to make that a lifestyle, and they buy special, vegan shoes and so forth and so on, and just, basically turn it into a religion. But the truth is, I gave up on that because I realized that it was really unsustainable. Now, fast forward a number of years. I love some Slim Jims, and I will enjoy a steak just as much as anybody else. And I am no vegan or any of that. And yet, I wasn't wrong about the idea of trying to be more sustainable. And so today, I look more at meat as a novelty or a treat than I do as the main course. So I use meat relatively sparingly, but I do eat it whenever I want it. And I do believe that it makes sense to be more mindful of the environment and mindful of your consumption. And it doesn't hurt anybody to have a little bit more potatoes and vegetables on their plate and a little bit less of some kind of meat, So I guess it all boils down to a level of balance there. So yes, I do believe in a level of moderation. I do believe there's such a thing as excess, but then that doesn't mean that I'm saying you give it up entirely. And so if you can just kind of find balance in life instead of always saying, okay, well, I'm gonna go from one extreme to another. That middle way is the best. Whether it's an opinion or a lifestyle choice, it's really common to try to be an absolutist about something, but the world isn't necessarily governed by absolutes. Everything is some sort of a middle phase in between multiple different states of being, so you can't really make a good life out of being really closed-minded to everything but one particular point of view. It's like if I wanted to, expose myself to more literature, and so I choose to just never do anything other than read paper books by candlelight. Yeah, I could do that, but I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the best way to go. Maybe an easier middle path is to just say I'm going to listen to Audible books while I'm going on a walk every day. And, that's a couple hours of exposure to literature right there. It's not extreme. It's not a huge thing, but it's going to wind up giving me a lot of opportunity to work through books that I wouldn't otherwise probably read. So, there's all sorts of options where you can say, how can I live a better life? How can I have a more diverse outlook on the world, but not necessarily give up anything to do it? Just balance the ratio a little bit more fairly so that you aren't, way out in left field. So it's a difficult thing. It's easy to say I'm going to just give up everything, but it's a lot harder to find balance in everything. And it's kind of like, you ever have an argument with somebody and and you make a point, and it's not a really complicated, extreme point. You just say something like, all right, let's say, okay, we go to the store, and it could be, I don't know, it could be your spouse, it could be your kid with you, I don't know, whatever. So you go to the store, and we'll just say it's a kid, you know, kid wants something, and you say, well, we need to be careful about how much money we spend. Maybe we can't buy that toy you want. And so the kid has a temper tantrum, and they say, oh, well, fine, then, I don't want anything at all. I'll just go home with nothing. Well, they didn't say you couldn't have anything. I just said you couldn't have that $100 Lego set. See, but the temptation there is to go ditch to ditch. The kid doesn't want to be told, no, I can't have the expensive thing. So he'd rather have the temper tantrum and say, well, fine, then I guess I won't get anything at all. And we're kind of like that a lot too, in so many different ways. Instead of finding balance, we just have a temper tantrum. Then we say, all right, well, if I can't find, if I've had a poor balance in my life before, then I guess I'll just give up everything and have a Spartan life without anything at all. Well, no, that's not really the solution. The solution is for you to demonstrate the maturity necessary to just have a level of restraint and balance, and don't let any one thing take all of the space on the stage. Till next time, thanks for watching.